Eagles Entertainment.
Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to the Eagles Insider Podcast, presented by Lincoln Financial Group. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. I'm here at the NovaCare Complex. Eagles getting ready for their opener against the Atlanta Falcons 1 week from Sunday. Can you believe it's already here? Can't wait. So the Eagles making some news, of course, since the preseason ended, and that is what we're here to address with you in this Eagles Insider Podcast. We got a good one for you today. Steven Nelson, Eagles cornerback, he's going to join me in just a bit. We're going to catch up with some of the moves the Eagles made, including the acquisition of quarterback Gardner Minshew. We'll hear from him. He met the media this week. Zach Ertz, for the first time in 2021, meeting the media and basically saying that everything is okay for the season ahead. And that's great news for the Eagles, who have a great situation at the tight end position. At this point, as we record the podcast, they've got Ertz, they've got Goddard, they've got Jack Stoll, an undrafted rookie from Nebraska. They've got Tyree Jackson. So impressive, the former quarterback from the University of Buffalo. Transitioned to tight end, and in his first training camp really wowed people. He's injured with a back injury. We don't know the status of when he'll return, but the Eagles obviously very, very high on him. And to that end, we're going to talk about the roster and what it means to have a 53-man roster and a practice squad that can hold up to 17 players, including international exemption defensive end Matt Leo. So we're going to hear from Howie Roseman right now, Eagles Executive Vice President, General Manager. Really interesting times for him. A roster that has gone through a lot of transition. So one-on-one with Howie Roseman, that's how we're going to start things off. Let's get right to it. Howie on the phone on this Thursday, coming off a very, very rainy Wednesday. Roseman has had a couple of days to digest the roster, and this is what he had to say about the Eagles and the 53 plus the practice squad.
Howie, it's been a couple of days now, and I wonder, as you look up at this 53 plus the practice squad, kind of what sticks out to you?
Well, I think, you know, the first part of it is it's always fluid. You know, our work's never done here. The talent acquisition period doesn't just end here today. It continues certainly through the trade deadline and then towards the end of the season. And our scouts, our front office staff does a great job of continuing to monitor players, put a lot of grades on guys on practice squads, on guys that are available, and we'll continue to do that. I think the big thing, obviously, is just the commitment to the lines, Dave, you know. And I think when we sat down with our coaches and decided, like, what we want to be and what we want to look like, we felt like it was really important to make sure that our commitment to build along the lines was shown. Obviously, we had a bad experience last year with losing a lot of linemen, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for a 17-game season and still, you know, extenuating circumstances with the virus out there. So I think that's what stands out the most.
Over the last couple of years, you've talked about getting younger. And I guess I look at the roster, I see 33 new names since 2019. Do you feel like when you look at the roster, you feel like you've accomplished that you've made that transition into a younger roster, but one that still has enough veterans to have a leadership and have the kind of show those young guys the way?
Yeah, you know, I think it's funny, you know, we always get these age stats and the average age of the roster, and, you know, that's skewed by one or two guys. But when you look at it by position, you can see there's certain position groups that are really young and give us an opportunity to kind of grow together. And I think certainly when you look at the skill positions as a whole, that's a really young group, and we're excited about the potential of those guys. And I feel like we got younger, but at the same time, like we didn't sacrifice necessarily the talent to get younger. And so we don't want to keep a young guy because he's a couple of years younger than a guy who can help us just for the sake of saying we got a little younger. We want to keep the right guys. And Dave, we've talked about this. Like, I think that a lot of times people feel like, or, around the league, you have the conversations about, I don't need veteran guys, but veteran players are a huge part of the culture that you're trying to build in terms of showing guys the right way to do things, having the experience to deal through adversity. And so we also want those guys on the team.
Okay, if we could talk about some of those position groups, and let's start with wide receiver, because there was a lot of speculation outside the organization that you would go out and get a veteran. You didn't do that. You showed a lot of faith in young players and Aaron Moorhead and Coach Nick and everybody, the wide receivers along. What do you see from that group?
Well, I put Kevin Patullo in there as well, working with the receivers when you talk about that group, and certainly Coach Steichen, the offense coordinator. I think, that was one of the reasons that Devontae was so appealing to us in the draft, because of his leadership ability, his work ethic, and really wise beyond his years, a tremendous competitor, tremendous winner. And we felt like he could help. And then Greg, Greg is somebody who has always been a leader on this football team and has shown it with his actions as well, his work ethic, former quarterback. So I think we feel like we have those guys, and they could really help as our young guys develop there.
And then running back is interesting, Howie. 3 running backs on the roster, and Kenny Gainwell. If you could just, everybody knows Miles, and they love Miles, and Boston has been so good the last couple of years. Kenny Gainwell, did he show you everything that you thought he would show? And certainly taking a player in the draft who didn't play last year, there's going to be some questions built in there. But he came back with zip, and he came back with energy, and he came back with that as Ron Jaworski says, that juju. What did he show you in the summer?
Yeah, I think that we knew that Kenny was really refined in the passing game. I think what he showed us this summer and through not only training camp, but the practices with other teams and the games was his run skills. There's a reason the guy ran for as many yards as he did in 2019, and you saw that. And so, I don't know that you can turn this guy just a third down back. He's got the ability to play on first and second down as well as a runner, and that's a good group and young group, and fortunate to get the guys back on the practice squad that we got as well.
Does that give you, having Jordan on the practice squad, there would be a question maybe of, do you have enough size in the backfield? How do you respond to that?
When we look back at who have been some of the best short yardage running backs since I've been here, it's a guy like Brian Westbrook, who had the ability to stay low to the ground and certainly wasn't a 230-pound back, but he had unique instincts and vision. And so sometimes you're just looking for good players at that position as opposed to just roll. Now, that being said, really value Jordan. That's why we keep bringing him back and think he has value. But I think we're looking for good players, not necessarily just kind of guys who have size.
Howie, I wonder, offensive line, the selection of Jordan Milata was an interesting one. I wonder how you feel about the way he's come along and your decision to draft him and the trust that you had in Stout at that time and the decision, and then just bringing him to the point where he is going to be the starter at left tackle on day one.
Well, that was a fun draft for us. We didn't have a lot of picks in 2018, and it was coming off the Super Bowl, and we felt like there were certain guys that we were very fortunate to get, and they were trait guys. And when you look at that draft, starting with Dallas and Avante and Josh in the 4th round, and even Matt, who played a lot for us, and wish him well in Indy. But Jordan was a guy that we had done so much work on. Stout had gone down and saw him work out and train in Florida. As you know, Dave, Stout's passionate, and he started sending me videos of the workout as he was going. And after we got past the 6th round, we didn't have a 7th round pick, if I remember correctly, and we sat there and we tried to trade back and make sure we got him. And I think the rationale was this guy was so physically gifted, and we had spent so much time that if he was going to succeed or fail, we wanted him to do it in Philly. And we committed when we drafted him that the first 2 years we were going to develop him because, he's a freak show, and it was all new to him. And those first 2 years, I'm not sure we got a lot of return on that investment. And It started last year, and Stout just continues to work with these guys, and these guys get better on the offensive line, and I think that's one of the things that, makes Stout who he is. You give him guys, and they continue to get better. And, Jordan got better and better, and, really he won the job. Andre had a good offseason too, and Andre continues to grow and improve and look good, and we're excited about him as well. But Jordan won that job because of what he did, and so we're excited to see him this year and really our whole offensive line, see what that group can do healthy.
Howie, at tight end, we know Zach, we know Dallas. Tyree Jackson is banged up, but what great progress that he made. I'm not sure fans really know a whole lot about Jack Stoll. Can you talk about what you liked about him in the draft process and what he's shown you in the summer?
Yeah, we had drafted grades on Jack, and certainly a guy that we were considering taking to make sure that we got him on this football team. And when you talk about Jack first, all the intangibles. I mean, really tough. Really wish he kept his mullet because it was such a great mullet, and I think it would have been really fun to watch. But he has tools in his body, Dave. First of all, the guy's really smart, really picks things up quickly. And then you look at it, just their offense didn't feature the tight end as much last year, but when you saw him run routes and the athletic ability that has in his body, I mean, the guy's a 4'6" guy, tight end. He can change direction, and then he's really tough. The point of attack stuff. I mean, there was a play against the Jets in the preseason where we're in the high red zone, and he comes off the ball, and he's just overpowering guys. So they're hard to find, these combo guys, and we wanted to keep them around. Obviously, our first two guys are special players, special people. But having a guy like this who really embraces the dirty work, wants to play on special teams, but he's not limited. A lot of times when you talk about these guys, they're hard to get up or play on special teams because they're 4'8", 4'9" guys, and you see them trailing on kickoff. But that's not Jack, and so really excited about him, and I think our staff was too, and didn't want to risk losing him.
The defense is interesting. You supplement in free agency with some players, Ryan and Anthony and Eric and Steven, and then you bring in some young players. Do you feel like you've got a nice mix of veterans and younger players on D?
For sure. And again, it starts with the D-line and the guys that we got there, and really even excited to add Ryan Kerrigan to this team, and what he brings to our football team. But we got a good mix, and really excited to some of these younger guys too, who are really look like they're coming into their own, whether that's Sweaty or Barnett and Hargrave, obviously, like those guys, and just match the guys who set the tone, and Fletch and BG.
And two more questions, Howie. You've mentioned that some of those players may not be quite where they need to be, but you're also counting on them continuing to make progress and the coaching of them. And talk about that a little bit, and the fans who might not quite understand that concept.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like what we have to, this league, I think a lot of times we're quick to judge in any job, and I think that experience matters, and getting guys, especially, the off season was better this year, but it still wasn't what we've been used to over a long period of time. And so, like, what we're asking our coaches is, where are they in their development? Do they have upside? Are they in a position where we think we can get more out of them? And I think specifically I was referring to Marlon. Marlon missed the off season. He had a hamstring, and we saw him continue to get better in the Jets practices and during that game, and we really liked him coming out. And so, for us, it was less about where he was maybe at the moment than where we could get him to. And, I think I was talking about him, but I think there's other guys like that. And that was really like even Davion last year, really excited to get him back and get him into the action. A guy like that, if they have the tools in their body, they have the work ethic, and our coaches believe in them, that those are powerful things. Those are powerful tools to keep getting those guys better.
And then finally, Howie, how in the world did Aaron Siposs become the Eagles punter? A player who last year was in Detroit on the practice squad. Can you tell me about what you saw in him, why you signed him, and how he's performed?
Well, I think the first part about that is our guys here in personnel, the young guys, do a great job of tracking news and notes from other teams. And we knew that last year he was in a fight for the job with Jason Fox, who made the Pro Bowl for the Lions. And so that was something that we're excited about. We knew kind of where we were going this year with our cap situation, and felt like as much as we appreciated that what Cam had done for us, that we were probably going to have to go young at that position. And we brought him in, and we knew he was a really talented guy. And I think the thing that we were concerned about was how comfortable Jake would, when Rick would be with him too as a holder. That's part of the job here as our punter. He's done a phenomenal job, and then he's got an unbelievable repertoire, and I think he can do things. He's got a bag of tricks, like a really good golfer, and we're not saying he's another guy that it's not going to be perfect probably year one. We're excited though about the development that he can do with Coach Clay and Coach Brown and Coach Panunzio. They work with these guys, and you could see the talent, and I think that the guy's got a real shot to be a good punter in this league, and looking forward to watching him.
Howie, what happens from on? Are you just looking to trade and tweak the roster here for the trade deadline in November?
Yeah, Dave, every day we're going to be looking for upgrades. We're going to see if there's opportunities to improve this team and get better for the short term and the long term. And, we're open to that. And obviously, we have this sixth waiver claim for hopefully it will be a short period of time, and we'll see if there's opportunity to take advantage of that.
Okay, so now you have a pretty good idea of where the Eagles are with their roster. And as we know, it is always a fluid situation, always a work in progress. Roseman always wheeling and dealing. Team has a lot of draft capital for next year. But let's be honest here. The Eagles believe they are going to be in the thick of things in the NFC East in 2021. One of the reasons, the acquisition of Steven Nelson, Eagles cornerback. Just as training camp began, the Eagles signed Nelson, who at the time, probably the most viable and most productive, and really for the Eagles, the most perfect fit in free agency. He played with Kansas City, he played with Pittsburgh, and now he's an Eagle, and now he's here to talk about the Eagles defense and what he thinks of Jonathan Gannon's group, JG's group, moving forward.
Regular season is just around the corner, and I wonder what your mindset is, how you transition from a preseason mindset to, getting ready for the regular season, what it means to you.
Yeah, I say this is my first rodeo, man. So I mean, this is, it's coming down to the wire, man. As the season gets closer, man, it's like you just hone in on those practices and meetings a little harder, than before, and you just try to make sure you're on top of every little detail, man, because when it matters, it matters.
So what do you think from an individual standpoint you accomplished from the time you came to Philly to this moment now?
I say I accomplished, first of all, very thankful and blessed, to have the opportunity, to be with the Eagles, man. But, personally, I feel like, I've gotten better in certain areas, of my game, and that's, major, kudos to the coaching staff, helping me, develop, I wouldn't say develop, but helping me, kind of reach my potential.
And can you is it technique stuff that you're talking about? Is it mental? What is it?
I think I'm a pretty smart guy, football wise. It's more of a technique thing. Like I said, this is a new coaching staff for me. So, having to learn, different techniques, but I mean, I wasn't too far off, but, just, coming in, right before training camp, did me a lot of justice, being able to kind of grow with everybody at the same time.
All right, so let's talk about that growth, Steven. What do you know about this Eagles defense? What do you think, just as a group, that you can accomplish?
I think the sky's the limit. We have, all the guys to do it, from D-line to linebackers to secondary. I think everybody knows that. And, it's all about, going out and just executing the plan and some of those unforeseen things that kind of happen, and that's just, if we can all stay healthy, I think we can go far.
So for fans who only watch the preseason games, and you talk about how, everybody's believing in it and everybody's on the same page, what are the things that convinced you, and when did they happen? Are you talking about the joint practices? Are you talking about just building chemistry? I mean, kind of how does it happen when you really don't play a whole lot together in the preseason, on the preseason stage in those games?
I would say, what fans, most fans don't see is, the hard work that goes in and day out, and the real grind that's taking place, from the time you wake up till like 9 o'clock some days, in camp. Those are what I call dog days, where you have to grind. Fans, they only get to see, over the surface type of thing. They don't really see behind the scenes. And when you go through, those challenges, with guys, that brings the group closer, and, you build chemistry, friendships, different type of relationships. And, you just see guys get better over the course of that, because, everybody has the same goal, and that's to help this team win.
Stephen, you said that this isn't your first rodeo. So, how do you have a sense then of, or is it too early to really have a sense of the mentality of this defense, or based on your experience, can you make an accurate read without playing in a regular season game?
I would just say everybody has a dog mentality. That's kind of what that's what Coach Sirianni, preaches, and that's what we're living by. Just having that tenacity, going out there every single play. Trying to lay it all out on the line, and when adversity hits, having that dog mentality, and you're able to, fight back and forget about the previous play and just kind of give it all you got each and every play. So, with that being said, if we stick to that formula, that's the formula for success in my eyes.
Stephen, what do you know about the Atlanta Falcons at this point?
They're a good football team, great football team. Obviously, have a great quarterback, veteran quarterback. They have good pass catchers. Offensively, they're dangerous. I don't know too much about defense side of the ball, but we're definitely going to have, our work cut out. So, like I said, just it's getting time to getting closer to week one. So, that's when those details like that I mentioned earlier matter the most. Having to practice hard and meet harder. So we can be prepared.
They also have a rookie tight end who, watching him in the preseason, from my standpoint, he doesn't look like a tight end from the old days. He looks like a wide receiver. Is that something that I guess defenses have to deal with a lot? Have you really had a chance to check out the young rookie?
Not really. Obviously, everybody's heard about him and whatnot. I think, that's a, accurate observation. But he's a special kid, special talent, coming out. But haven't really paid too much attention to him just yet because we just got out of camp and doing what we do. So, but definitely we have a lot of time to prepare for him as well.
Stephen, from a personal standpoint, what has it been like for you making this transition to Philadelphia? Are you, you're out of the training camp mode? You got your own place to live now? Do you feel settled in? Do you feel like you're part of Philadelphia?
Definitely. Just my first month here, it's been all football for me. Just trying to, take care of my living situation. It's been kind of, put on the back end, but I have been trying to figure out where I'm going to live. That'll be taken care of soon. But I mean, it's just been all football for me, and and trying to get better and be the best I can be for the team.
And Stephen, finally here, when you get to that game day, that first game, what do you like? What kind of emotions do you have, and what does it mean to you to get ready for another football season, to be there on that stage?
Man, it's a huge blessing / opportunity. It's just when you've been through a lot of been on a couple teams, and you've kind of been through it, and you see when final cuts come around, and guys you've been in the locker room all camp, and they kind of get released or whatnot. That's how I look at things, like being thankful to be out here and not taking anything for granted, and just giving it everything I have. Jonathan
Gannon, and what he has, his daily message to you is, and what you think of him as a defensive coordinator early on here.
Yeah, man. I love JG, man. He's been I think he's given me a lot of inspiration, man, and what he's brought to the team, and he's always in my hip pocket, giving me little tips on how I can get better at certain things. He's a real cool guy, man. He understands the secondary, the things that DBs have to go through, man, and that's helped out a ton.
And before we leave the Eagles Insider Podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group, let's hear from a couple of the veterans we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Zach Ertz, just 29 catches away from topping Harold Carmichael's all-time record, Eagles franchise history for most career receptions. Carmichael, 879 of them. Ertz just 29 away from getting to 890. Last year, a very tough year for Ertz. Injuries, and then an offseason where rampant speculation that he might be traded. Didn't happen. He's here. He's happy. He's ready to go.
This is the most fun I've had coming to work in a long time. These past 4 weeks, being with this new coaching staff, being with this young team, some of the vets like myself, Kels, Lane, B. It's been a lot of fun coming to work each and every day. It's been freeing to kind of just focus on football. Last year I was hurt. I had an ankle injury that was freaking debilitating at times. Had surgery in the off season. And practicing at the end of the year just wasn't fun because it was a grind each and every day. And now I feel great. The ankle feels great. And so just to come out here with the new coaching staff has been so much fun. Coming to compete every day, which has been a blast, which I love to do. Never shy away from that. And ultimately, like I've said all along, this is the place I want to be. This is the place I want to retire. And those feelings haven't changed. I'm moving on from everything that happened this offseason. There have been apologies. There have been things that we've mended. And ultimately, I'm here. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be a leader of this football team.
So that's a good thing. Number 86 is healthy, feeling good. Mentally, he's great. And the Eagles are going to use a lot of him. Really can't wait to see what Nick Sirianni does, Shane Steichen does, what kind of offensive scheme they put together with a really good group of tight ends. Quarterback Gardner Minshew came to the Eagles last Saturday. A trade with Jacksonville. The Eagles giving up a conditional 6th-round draft pick for a player in his 3rd season. He started 20 games in 2 years with Jacksonville. Had a terrific 2019. Had some injuries in 2020. The Jags then went out and drafted Trevor Lawrence number 1 overall in the spring. And that made Minshew available. So he comes in. He's the number 3 quarterback. And the Eagles are pleased to have him in that room. And Minshew is pleased to be an Eagle.
I think a lot of times it can be great anytime you're walking into a situation like we have here with a great roster full of good dudes, a coaching staff that's very excited about winning. That's always a good situation for anybody to walk into. So I'm just very excited to be working with these guys.
Now, Minshew is number 3 in the quarterback room, number 3 on the depth chart, behind starter Jalen Hurts and number 2 man Joe Flacco. That's just fine with Minshew, who says both Hurts and Flacco have been very welcoming, teaching him the offense in a hurry.
It's been great, man. Jalen, I think Jalen was the first guy to reach out to me, actually, just welcoming me in. Our paths have crossed a few times in the past, and man, they've been great, in meetings and walkthroughs. They've been very helpful, as I'm trying to get up to speed, and I look forward to, helping them in any way that I can.
Now, what about this offense? Very early returns from Minshew, who believes the Eagles can have their way. Great balance on the ground, in the air. This offense, at first glance, for Minshew, is extremely impressive.
I think it's great. I think there's, with the guys we have, we're going to be able to run the ball well. I think, with the way we set up our pass plays, there's a lot of room for explosive passes. And that, I'm just barely getting into it, this week one. But, very, very excited. I just talking with Coach Sirianni, and hearing him talk ball just gets me fired up because, he's passionate about it. He knows it. And somebody I'm very, very excited to work with.
And one more thing before we wrap up the Eagles Insider podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Let's hear for Jordan Milata. What a story. Comes to the Eagles in 2018, 7th-round draft pick, never played the game of football, and here we are. He's going to be a starter on day one in the NFL at the left tackle position. How exciting is that? Something to think about. You want to take a chance? You want to be great? Jordan Milata showed the way. Eagles have a strong offensive line, and they feel great about Jordan Milata protecting the blind side of Jalen Hurts.
I think it started off last year, when I started playing games, when I started getting comfortable in the position. And for me, that's when it really began, that I started understanding football, started talking football, and kind of realized learning on the go was, going to be a big thing for me. And so because I knew how much effort I was giving in to myself or to the game, really, I kind of felt like, I was kind of, branding myself as a football player because I believed it, because I believed in what I was giving to the game, giving of myself to be a starter and a professional. And so, that was my biggest thing about not being seen as a rugby player anymore, to be seen as a football player. And, I'm going to keep doing that until until I scrub that from my history. I don't know. For me, it's just, I don't want to be seen, if I give up a sack or if I don't do the right technique, I don't want to be the guy like, he's a rugby player. Of course he doesn't know that. No, I want to be judged because, I just have poor technique and didn't execute it right. Because I know I can do all the things that Coach Stout and Coach Sirianni ask of me and my teammates. So it's just a matter of me, being a professional and handling my business.
That'll do it for this Eagles Insider podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. Thanks to Peter Kelly, Ray Doyle, and Julie McLaughlin for their work. Thanks to all of you for joining us each and every episode. We'll be back next week as we focus in on the Atlanta Falcons. Thanks for joining, everyone. Dave Spadaro once again saying have yourselves a great Eagles day. And as always, fly, Eagles, fly.